Welcome back. We're in Evening Lake now. This is the halfway point of the run pretty much. Spyro's pretty bored, so let's get going. We've just had to speak to Bianca, had no choice in the matter. It's an easy 10 gen to grab as we go into Frozen Altars. Now the reasoning for this route will make sense a bit later. I can say straight away that we do need gems for Bentley. With the Ice Breath now, we need to make our way above this ice wall. Freezing the enemies gives us the platforms that we need. On console you can go for something different, which I'll show in post. I've really glossed over the movement I've just done, so I'll explain it quickly. We can reach Cecil really quickly from that roof. You can reach the roof with a long glide into hover. 30 FPS really helps. If by now you haven't used 30 FPS for the run, I understand that visually it's less appealing than the higher FPS values, but the additional jump height is nothing to sneeze at, and consistency with the tricks is a huge part of the run. Not a lot of the tricks I would view as overly difficult compared to some levels and some categories that exist in SRT, but getting all the tricks right in a run is hard. We have a pretty difficult wall glide now. I failed this many times when I started out. It looks like too far of a gap to cover, but the sloping wall here aids Spyro a lot with the wall glide. I'm going to do a charge jump to cover as much ground as I can at the start, but also I'm going to make sure to connect with the wall at like the peak of that charge. It just gives us a bit more wiggle room to lose height before we reach the end. The last thing, I'm not going to be tapping into the wall 100 times. Just a couple of significant taps will give you the enough maintained height to cross the gap. And there you go. Try a few different things out. Once you're comfortable with it, it will save you a significant amount of time to having to go all the way around the level, through there, end of level, around there, up to here. The intended way is just so much slowing. Crossing over, do not get connected to the snowman. If we run into the snowman here or get too close, then we get thrown over there. So try to glide over them. Optional 5 if you need. But to be honest, it's a pretty short level. Instead of using the Ice Breath to freeze the two enemies and break down the ice wall, console can utilize the laser. Throughout our time in this little cabin, you can't open the guidebook, and that should tell you everything you need to know. The timer is paused. So if you want, you can kill all the enemies. I tend to just take out the ice wall and the big enemy, but it is certainly convenient. Remember to practice the tricks that are giving you trouble in your runs. Completing runs is a really important part of it, but if you're dropping time to the same split over and over, it might be worth seeing how other runners do it as well. The way I do it is not always going to be what works for you. I know that. I hope you know that. The only reason that I do the method that I do is because I've tried other people's and copied what worked for me and disregarded what didn't. That's the great thing about being part of a community. Fireworks Factory now, also pretty short level and much more linear. we just go along the ground pretty much the whole way. Shoutouts to Nudes or Noodles. Now, gem-wise, not too many available in the level, but we will be needing a few up ahead from a metal chest. None of these enemies really give significant gems, so I'm ignoring all of them. There's our metal chest. We have Sam skip now. There's Sam. There's Handle. On the left is a Rhinoc. I will exit level and come back in because I want to make sure they're on cycle for me. What I will do is speak to Handle to clear the little trigger zone and then aggro the Rhinoc in order for them to hopefully throw a bomb that we can use to damage abuse up to the ledge. So we start by talking to Handle. Gonna have a look over here. I stand up against that line. Now, I was very late there because I'm trying to talk at the same time. This line is useful. I don't follow the bomb exactly. I'm trying to do like an arcing motion to meet it somewhere. Like that. And failing it a couple of times, I hope it made it clear why they failed. Like, the bomb hitbox is pretty small. So, you do need to meet it at the right point, and it has to be at a decent enough height. The damage abuse gets us up to there. There's one more thing to note. It's a pretty hard trick, so you may fail it. If you fail it, make your way over to here and do the backup, which is a lot easier. You should still not need to run all the way around. I'll show you what that looks like. It's just not ideal. If you're not confident with Sam skip, which is completely fair, maybe just go for this straight away. Because it's pretty much as fast as a third try Sam skip. And that's the great thing about tricks in the run. You can afford to fail them a few times and still be on par with if you never went for the trick in the first place. But the payoff for going for them makes it worth practicing. At the end of Fireworks, we're going to guidebook back to Evening Lake. If we exit level here, we have to swim out of that tunnel. It's just a little slower than what we need to be doing. We want to make our way to Charmed Ridge, but we also need to collect the egg inside of Jank Whale, as they're known. Yep, that's why. Jank Whale does some stuff. I do not want to be messing around with that. If I exit the whale here, I might get stuck in a wall. Not joking. So I'm going to quit game continue again. It's just not worth it. And it takes about the same amount of time to exit the whale as it is to restart our positioning here. That's why we do it next to Charmed Ridge, because now I can go straight into the level. Charmed Ridge is one of those levels where it's very difficult. There's a lot of gems, so you do need to focus. And I've lost many runs here. I'm prioritizing enemies I know drop purple gems. I don't want to waste too much time. You can dodge around that with a glide. Now the wall glide here is different between PC and console. Because of the gaining of height you get on PC, I don't even need to like tap into the wall. I just gain enough height and I make it up. On console you have to try a little bit harder. And from here we can do a big sequence break up to Mo. And from here we can drop into the cave. I'm going to do a couple things here. I'm going to break open that phase that takes a second to unlock in full. You can use the ladder to reach Benjamin. Jumping off the ladders in this game is a bit awkward, so usually I hold down and a direction. So here it will be down and left, and I'm also going to jump at the same time. And then I can start a glide. Reach Benjamin. Pick up the remaining 5 gems over here. Leave the lonely vase. Okay, I'm not going to do this next segment in one go. I grabbed a 5 gem because of one of these metal guys going out of bounds. This next section is pretty much the main run killer up until like a mid to high level, because you don't get a second chance. The blue acid just kills you. The enemies are pretty unforgiving, and we need these platforms in order to make our way to Jack and the Beanstalk. We also want to open up end of level with the Fireball power-up. It's a lot. So I'm gonna kill the enemies for the first part. That usually involves charging this one. I like to shoot both individually, and then you would aim there and there. But I'm gonna go back and just do it all in one go. Fast ladders help as well. I can't just say that and then leave it. I have to talk about fast ladders. I've been doing it throughout the run, but in particular, Charmed Ridge and also Evening Lake, you're going to see laddering as a point of contention. Jumping onto the ladder is fine. Climbing the ladder is slow. Jumping up a ladder is not particularly fast either. Fast ladders is when you kind of pull off the... Sorry, I didn't do it right. You pull off the ladder. See how fast that middle one was there? It's actually harder to do it now that I've talked about it, if that makes any sense. Yeah. And it's not necessary for your runs, but once you are looking to save those extra seconds, it's a very good transferable skill to have. Particularly Spyro 2 as well will benefit. I'm going to do the next sequence in one go now, and hopefully you see why it's important we do it fast. We are on a time limit with the power-up after all. Make our way over to here, charge through the enemies, kill those two enemies. 1, 2, wait. It's cleared. Now there are faster ways of doing it, but this is the safest way, and it's by no means slow. The important thing is we've opened up that gate now, so we don't have to run all the way around. We can just glide straight over there. It'll be easier to demonstrate once we come around. So instead of having to deal with these falling rocks, which are a real pain, and then glide up to there where the enemy was sitting, we can just glide straight over when we're ready. But with this cat witch there, we can also go up there. I always flame that enemy. There's nothing worse than getting knocked down, because then you have to run all the way around, or alternatively, you go all the way back. The key part about Charmed Ridge is if you die here, you have to do this entire section again. All the enemies respawn. It really stinks. Like, it does not feel good to mess up, and that's why I would recommend lose a bit of time here, keep your run going. It's fine. There's a helpful 20 gems over there if you need them. Now we have Jack and the Beanstalk. I really love this section. Ironically, as a kid, I hated this section. Useful fodder if you need. We only need mushrooms for this, and I really don't want to miss that shot. Usually you need the little daisies to make your way up. But yes, we can do perfect hovers to get on top of the mushrooms. And from up here, we can glide on over. We can do that even faster. Do the perfect hover, but then once we've bounced off, if you tap charge in the air, you can start a glide sooner. Otherwise, you're sort of just stuck. Your first bounce is like a mandatory no glide or very delayed glide. So in short, it would be like this. That's one. Again, we will create a mushroom there, but yeah, we will need the daisy to ascend to the last bit. Perfect hover, charge, glide. And here we are. That's the first part of this cutscene done. This egg challenge done. Grab a few 5 gems as you go through. There's another one there. Now this one is a bit of a crossroads, so I could pick this up, grab these, I guess, and go all the way around, which involves doing this again. That's not slow by any means, and it is consistent, but ideally you would go perfect hover, and then from here you can go up to the ledge. If I just try and glide, it doesn't seem like I can. The timing here is pretty precise. So positioning wise, I also move forward for my last bounce. And in the air, once more, it's the little wiggle to the side before the hover. It's so important. I don't fully understand why it works. I just know that it delays my forward momentum a little bit, and I don't lose as much height as if I just went forwards. You may be able to do it without the wiggle, but again, I'm telling you what works for me. And I want to see people getting consistent with these tricks, so I'll tell you now that is very consistent for me. Go around to grab another 5, and then down here is some really great high value gems if you haven't already over gemmed yourself. Those are the main ones I would go for during a run. As you can see, I'm already on 1,017 gems. That's just because I've been picking up everything I see that's sort of like conveniently placed in high value. So getting enough gems for Bentley is not that hard. What's hard is doing it in a way that is optimal. So you're not going out of your way for gems, and nothing worse than arriving at Bentley with too many gems. You're like, oh, I could have saved 5-10 seconds easily by just not going for these gems here or whatever. That cutscene sometimes doesn't play for the opening of the drawbridge a second time, but don't fully understand why not. This guy has some weird iframes. And once we take out the last cat witch, and Princess Amy goes off on their eloping extravaganza, one of the hardest levels in the run is done. Now for console it is the same trick, but as I said, for PC you don't really need to try. You just kind of have the height. I tend to tap into the wall a fair bit, and even then it's quite hard to have the height if you're trying to get onto this bit here. You kind of have to go from the lower part, and that is a lot riskier. So just show you again what I'm doing. Make sure you're parallel first. Got to wall glide into the wall just slightly before you can go for this. But after that, everything is the same. Crucially, dying in that level loses a lot of time. There's not a whole lot of respawn points, so it's better to take your time with it than throw your entire run. And there's nothing better than the feeling you get when you gold Charmed Ridge. Right, Lost Fleet. This level plays quite differently to how you would think. So with a wall glide we can make our way up here. That's a lot easier on PC, thankfully. We'll make our way up to the boat early. Although we can just drop down to end of level, Crazy Ed's not there. This is an escort mission at the end of the day, and you can see he's over there pointing at the big X on the wall. Aim the cannon down slightly and shoot. You break that. And we're still tracking Ed. He is below us right now, but we're not going straight after him. This is a little precise. If I go too far left or too far right, I'll fall down. I want to demonstrate quickly. In short, it would be, I like to glide off, and from here take a moment to charge off there, and it gives you enough momentum to complete this glide. You can stand there for a sec, line it up and do a charge jump, but I find that this jump is quite awkward. Better to stand higher up than further down, give yourself more of a shot. And also, don't charge too long, you'll fall down. You'll be very sad, like that guy there. Because the only other way to get up here without doing the trick again is to go through the acid tunnel, which comes out around there. It's not too bad, you get a lot of gems for it, but it's not as fast as what you want. Now we go into the subs minigame, whilst Ed just casually waits out there, but is also in here. Subs 1. Subs 1 and 2 are only good eggs to do because they work on the same cycle every time. And I'm going to show you exactly what I do. I'm not able to explain it too much. I mean, I can definitely continue to quit out like that. Yeah, I'll do my best to explain it as I go. Remember that the submarine doesn't shoot torpedoes exactly where you're looking. You kind of have to picture that it's below you slightly. First one's not too bad. Second one, under pressure, can't do it. In practice, it's no issue whatsoever. But yeah, subs is one of those mini games that takes a fair bit of adjusting to. Once you've got it, it's a great addition to the run. There's one, there's two, third one above us. Can no scope it again. No scoping is very important here, just to get it done as quickly as possible. Finally, number 6. If you've missed one, you can chase it and wait for those rings to light up and fire the torpedo that way. And there's nothing wrong with that, it just loses you time. So that's the ideal subs one that you want. My advice, if you have missed one and you're on the clock, you can't just keep restarting for fun, pretend you hit it. Just try to keep going through the sequence. 1, 2, missed 3, that's fine. Just do 4, 5, and 6, and then you can deal with 3 at the end. Because if you keep getting distracted one after the other, you're going to miss like 3 or 4 subs instead of 1. It's a lot easier to catch the last one than figure out where all of their different cycles are. Yeah, I hate to ask this of you as well. We're going into subs 2 now. Once more, I'm going to demonstrate what I would do for this. This is much harder. They also drop mines. But this should be the fastest way of doing subs 2. I'm not going to lie, that was an unbelievable subs 2. Okay, and that's why that's one of those eggs that does get included at a top level. It's really fast, despite the difficulty. I don't recommend doing subs 2 at first, but the reason this guide exists is because I want to show you what top runners are doing now. In particular, can I access the sub again? Yeah, I can. I just want to explain the hardest parts of that previous one. Starting off's not too bad. Lining up with the tunnel is the same as subs 1 basically. You know they're going to approach from there, so you fire the 2. But then you have to go down here because we aggro the sub that leaves this part of the tunnel. We lock onto. So we got the 3 dots that start ticking. But because we aim downwards, we also cut off another sub. So it turns around, it gives us an opportunity to shoot it. It will do like this weird turn to the right each time, so we can predict that. And then I like to steer around it. The body of the Rhinox sometimes blocks the attack. It's lost me a few runs. So from here, if I don't aim up here at the sub, then the trajectory of the torpedo sort of goes around this bit of coral. Sometimes this coral will block it, and it's really annoying when that happens. A subs 2 is a very high pressure egg because we only do it to do it fast. And it's difficult. So at this point, if I've hit the 4th one, I'm really happy. Like the last 3 just sort of go around this middle part of the boat. It's not too bad. But I also found that if you just turn around and aim upwards, the sub here will almost always get hit. That gives me an opportunity to turn around, and there's number 6, and then up here is number 7. It's the same logic of, if you've missed one, keep going. Because you'll probably find most of it is still on cycle for you. Something to practice in your own time. Don't feel obligated to include that in your runs until you are very much looking for time save elsewhere. But yeah, subs 2, it's an egg. And we meet up with Crazy Ed over here. Take out a few enemies. A few optional little gems. One more X on the wall. Bit of boat parkour once again. Easy 20 in the corner there. And Lost Fleet's done. Given the differences between PC and console wall glides, in a similar way to Charmed, the way you execute this wall glide here on console is a bit different. Now it is possible to still use, the wall up here to give yourself height, but if you're struggling with that, there's also a standing one where you get into the corner, you sort of aim your glide to the left, perhaps at the sort of the circular bit there. Forward, glide, and it does push you up here. It doesn't want you to be in contact with the circle. It's not perfect, and you can see the geometry is always fighting back, but give it a few tries. It's something that is worth practicing, because nothing is worse than after you've practiced subs for hours at a time and then in your run you can't get onto the boat. Honestly, having Charmed Ridge followed by Lost Fleet is very scary for the run. Both splits can lose you a lot of time. And it's around here that if I've had a good evening lake, I get very nervous. Not only because we're 2/3 of the way through the run basically, but also for what follows, which we'll get into shortly. Make our way up here. We're gonna get the remainder of the Evening Lake eggs all in sequence, because thankfully the level is designed in a way that they're all nearby. This is a decent head bash chest to grab. It's an easy 30 gems. You'll lose a few seconds to grab it, but it's not too bad. Now, Hannah Jump, as it's known, is quite a precise glide into hover. That little turret down there, we can make our way into the opening. This wall with the stained glass juts out slightly, so I can't just go for the most narrow line. I do want to arc around it slightly. So I need to do a really good charge jump into glide, into hover. I'll also demonstrate the backup. But here we go. Hover when you need to, and yeah, it's a tough one to gauge when you need to hover. Practice makes perfect. So if I'm halfway through the air and I don't think I'm gonna make it, I would just kind of bail out of it. So I'll see if I can demonstrate that. So, I'm way too low. No worries. Okay, I'm gonna make my way to the ladder. Fast ladder if you can. You don't even need to go to the top here, but if you want to go to the top, there's a bunch more gems here. But even from this position here, I can hold down, glide. Don't even need to hover, but you could. And there's Hannah. We also have this easy to grab 10 and these easy to grab 5s, and you can see I'm 140 gems over what I needed, basically. So, in what you've seen, feel free to not grab 140 of those. But I'm hoping it gives you some freedom to choose what works for you. And there's Bentley for us. And this will be the last level of this segment, because the next segment is really important. I'll spend a lot of time talking about it during this, but also, we want to make a fast cycle. That's not how I'm going to make that. I want to make a fast cycle for the seals. In order to do that, I need to move quickly. Bentley doesn't move quickly, but I'm going to whack this rock mid-jump. I'm going to take out these enemies as soon as they're in range of me, using like the back part of the club as well, because the hitbox lingers on the way back. I'm going to speak to Bart as soon as he stops, but not block him, because he moans at you, he's like, oh, you blocked me. Speak to Bart here, because during the cutscene, yes, I saw those black bars as well. PC port was done perfectly. You grab Brian, and then we make it in time for this seal cycle. We're not going to make it in time for this one, which is okay. What matters is, after we shoot that one, we run straight over here to take out that seal. And it's important because as an escort mission, we just want Bart to move as fast as possible. Sorry, Bart. Once he's over here, once more we have to attack for the gong. You get a little bit of freedom to move this time onto the platform. Pushing boxes is pretty slow. Fast box pushes involve using like the corner, and the game gets a bit confused and thinks you're just walking normally. Because a slow box push is like, you know, that when it gets sort of stuck on invisible terrain. A fast box push should be a bit more like that. But hey, it's not game-breaking stuff. Don't really need any more gems for the rest of the run. Wait for Bart to stop, speak to him, and then we're going to guidebook back to Evening Lake. Alright, we need to talk about what's coming up. When we go through the rocket, we have access to Scorch's Pit. We have two choices. We can either attempt to do the fight as fast as possible and then guidebook back to Spike's Arena in order to complete Crystal Islands fast, or we can do something in Scorch's Pit to do Crystal Islands really fast. And if you pick the third option, your run is going to be significantly slower because we are 1,000 gems short of buying a bridge. But why would we pay money when we can just skip it? This next part deserves its own section, so we'll see you back here in a moment.